Hi everybody, sorry about how's everyone doing tonight? Yes, it is I. A bit of a long evening. I kind of almost like halfway through today realised, oh yeah, I've got to do this stream at some point. I just tried to call my mum to get in touch with her. Found out she was out for the evening when I wasn't expecting it. So it was like, oh right, that conversation is going to happen another time. And so, yeah, I thought, all right, let's just get on here and do the stream. Things would just be a lot easier if I just continued in that fashion. But yeah, just kind of been rushing around trying to get stuff, bits and bobs done. But thanks for tuning in. Hope the audio and video looks fine to me, and James is confirming that. But yeah, this is basically an overdue live stream because, frankly, I've put this off for far too long. I haven't done one in ages, and for those who are on the Patreon campaign I have to keep the channel going, I do let people ask questions from time to time and say, right, give me a bunch and I'll answer them on the next Q&A. Problem is, I got so distracted with Christmas and Essen and folks and family and trips and work and all sorts of other things, I forgot to do them. So it has been somewhat of a while, hence this one is called my apology to Patreons because, well, it's kind of a self-apology because this is going to basically catch up with a bucketload of questions that they've asked in the last segment, in the last post I just made, but also in the one before that I haven't answered yet. So there's quite a few Patreon questions to get out of the way first before we tackle, general chat. But hopefully this will keep us going for a nice hour and, on a Saturday evening or daytime or whatever it is that it is for you lot in the country. So hello, James and Emily, and hopefully there's more people to come as people kind of finish what they're doing. Now, a lot of this is dependent on my vocal cords because they are, in a sense, fine, but I think the throat thing is lingering. It's not screwing me over, but if I don't drink enough fluids while I'm doing a lot of stuff, then it does have a bit of an impact, so we'll see how I go for an hour as I'm rabbiting on. You'll just have to put up with me drinking on a regular basis. So, yeah, this is just basically to go over a bunch of questions. There'll be stuff to do with the channel, stuff to do with my games and that, and I have had no time whatsoever to look at them and prepare. So this is entirely on the fly. But I got them prepared, at least on putting them on banners, but I have not had a chance to sort of, get used to what the answers are. So we're just literally going to go in order. How many have I got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10. So I got 10 Patreon things to do. Okay, fair enough. We'll go ahead. How dare you? How dare you? Let's see. Nope, James, no dad jokes allowed. You're not allowed to put dad jokes in the chat. Can't do that. All right, well, let's kickstart off. So what do we got here? So what are your top 2 games you're looking forward to most in 2023? Top 2 games you've kicked and are waiting to be fulfilled, and top 2 games from 2022. Well, I mean, top 2 games from 2022, you can just check out my top 10 list from 2022 for that one. I mean, that's a fairly easy one, but in terms of looking forward to most, I mean, I did do an anticipated list, but so far, I think for the most part, I'm looking forward to the next Scholars of the West. Was it Scholars of the South Tigris? Is that what it is? That one I'm kind of looking forward to. Let's have a look. Scholars. Here we go. Scholars of the South Tigris. So this is the next Garfield Games entry. That one's definitely high on my list because, after all, I really liked Wayfarers. I thought Wayfarers was really good, and I just figured, yeah, I'm sure this one will be pretty good as well. Now, granted, the second one in the West Kingdom series, Paladins, I wasn't as keen on, although I liked it a bit more at first, so I'm hoping that this one doesn't follow the same pattern and just makes me like it as much as Wayfarers did. I can't recall what I put as my number 2 on that list, though. What have we got here? So, let's go back to my videos. Let's see, top 10 anticipated games of 2023-ish. This was it, yep. So, let's have a look. Not going to put the sound on for obvious reasons. So there's Scholars of the South Tigris. What was my number 2? Come on, get to the point, Luke. Oh, of course, yeah, Deep Rock Galactic. Yes, I'm definitely looking forward to this one. This one is basically, you've seen footage there off the PC game. I love Deep Rock Galactic. I even played a bit of it this morning, actually, for a bit of fun. And I just figured, you know what? We'll go with it. This is definitely the board game that I desperately want. And so I'm definitely looking forward to getting this out. And I hope it's good. I mean, I really do. hope it's good. I am a little bit concerned that it might, you is it going to let me down, shall we say? But you know what? It's a first-time publisher and that they got good-looking miniatures. I'm not going to paint mine obviously like these, but frankly, if you just give me anything that gives me a sort of resemblance of the computer game, I'm going to be happy. But I'm waiting for it to kickstart any day now, and it's taking forever. I mean, for crying out loud. But you asked top 2 games I kicked and waiting to be fulfilled. Earth and this one. This one is taking its sweet time. And I know Americans and that have had it already, but also Earth. The one that the Dice Tower raved about, and lots of people are really hyping up. Even Paul Grogan's doing a bit on it lately with some of his videos. Now, I've no idea if it will be amazing. I mean, I'm a little bit skeptical whenever a bunch of reviewers all at once say this is like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, and all this lot. It does fill me with a little bit of trepidation, but I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and see what it's like when I get hold of it. Maybe it will be amazing. I hope it's amazing, but until I get it, I can't really tell. I'm just cautiously skeptic when it comes to lots of 9s and 10s being thrown around everywhere, especially when they may not necessarily have played the game a ton. But suffice to say, I am going to look forward to this when it comes through. I will certainly give it the beans, give it a review, and we'll see how things go. And yes, I know it's on Board Game Arena and stuff like that, as Star Trek's saying, but I prefer to play the physical copy up front, really, and then resort to TTS and BGA once I know the game more, because I don't want to have preconceptions of the game prior to checking out the physical copy, if that makes sense. It's just kind of the way I roll. So I know I can try it, but I'd rather just get the physical copy, see the components, and try it with a group, before I start going mad at it. Alright, okay, let's move on. I would be curious about games that I would be curious about games that you needed some time to get warm with. I remember you weren't a fan of Spirit Island in the beginning, possibly due to a bad teach. Yes, indeed. Spirit Island certainly was one of those games, because the first time I got shown it... Let me move my microphone down there a little bit. Yeah, that's better, because then I can actually reach the rotten keyboard. But, yeah, Spirit Island, love the game. Love the game. It's still, one of my favourites of all time. But when I got taught it for the first time, I really got a bad teach. 3 players, it took absolutely forever, and I just got put off with... I thought it was a good game, but I just thought it was way too long, way too complicated, and so I kind of held off looking at it. But then and then I got taught it properly by some mates of mine, and now I really love it. So this one I definitely warmed up to. We've got there. I wish I'd played Living Forest on Board Game Arena first, and then I wouldn't have bought it. Well, why? I mean, Living Forest is, right there. And I've already bought the expansion for it as well. I like Living Forest. Living Forest is a cool game. But I'm hoping the expansion will make it even better. But, nah, I like the base game of Living Forest just fine. But other games, I mean, strangely enough, Terraforming Mars to an extent. I mean, I still think it's overrated, like crazy. I mean, move over Terraforming Mars, we have something called Arc Nova to take your place. But I can play a game of Terraforming Mars and, have a good time. But it does revolve around people kind of going, right, are we going to play this with a maximum 3 players? And are we going to just simply... are we going to play Prelude as well? Prelude. That's the main thing, because if it's not... That's the thing. Prelude and 3 players means that the game is short enough for me to actually care about it. But what I'm concerned with is that it will simply be, way too... way too long, way too overwrought, and with 4 or 5 players, this game just drags on and on and on. At least with the few players, yeah, you might think, well, it takes longer to go through the generations, in terms of how many generations it takes to finish. But then I'm having more turns, so I'm having more fun. That's what I'm more interested in. The expansion to Living Forest, it came out literally, I think, a couple of days ago. I saw it on this week's week releases list. But, yeah, I know a lot of people love Terraforming Mars, and to be honest, I'd probably rather play it digitally, like some people are saying here. But, yeah, this one I definitely warmed up to. I like it okay. I just think it is overrated, and I do want to play it in a specific fashion, shall we say. That's kind of the main way on that. But other games I've warmed up to. I don't think I can think of any games that I've got that I would say I didn't like and then sort of warmed up to it eventually, because most of the games I've got on my shelf here are ones that I like. I suppose Feast for Odin's another one, because I think Feast for Odin took a little bit of time for me to get sort of into it. You know, because at first I thought, oh, blimey, this is taking way too long. It's got no theme whatsoever, and, you know, way too many action spaces to try and teach this game, and I still think it's a nightmare to teach. But then I also thought it was imbalanced, because there was certainly some balance issues when it came to the base set. That being said, the Norwegian's expansion certainly made a difference and balanced a bit of the game out, and after a while I just thought, yeah, you know what, I just kind of enjoyed it really. It was just, you know, I got into the, and also playing it solo helped, because the solo mode in this is actually pretty decent, but certainly I was just a bit like, I don't know, you know, do I really need to, you know, do all these actions and teach all this, and why is it so much more powerful to do things like immigration and stuff? But as soon as Norwegians got included in it, it did improve the game for me. But yeah, Spirit Island and Terraforming Mars are probably the biggest contenders for ones that I warmed up to over time. All right, we'll go with that. It's a lovely chamomile tea. It's kind of a necessity to keep you going. Alrighty, lovely Ashley says, how has your taste in games changed over the years, if at all? If there's something you love now that you never thought you would enjoy? Whew. I mean, I've always kind of liked fairly heavy games. I suppose if anything has changed in my taste, I'm a little bit more willing to venture off into genres and themes that I don't normally go for as much, with some exceptions. I mean, I don't tend to go mad for a train game, for example, and I certainly won't go near, you know, an 18XX anymore, but, you know, I'm more receptive to going, yeah, you know what, if this is going to be traded in the Mediterranean or industry or something like that, then whatever, let's go with it. I'm also trying a few more dry games, you know, these days. I mean, I even tried Marrakesh, you know, not the old Marrakesh, the new one, the Stefan Fell one. And let's bring up that picture to show you what I'm on about here. There we go. So somebody showed me this one the other week, and I tried it, and I thought it was okay, but I thought there was quite a lot of luck involved with this cube tower. But I just thought I didn't like the way that system worked. You could get screwed over by sheer bad luck of turn order, and the turn order is not something you can change, it just happens. So somebody could just get ahead by blind luck, and I just thought, yeah, that's not as good. And also, this is basically just Trajan 1.5. I mean, that's literally what this game is. It's a bunch of mini games that trigger off in different places. It's got no theme whatsoever. It's way too big a box. The deluxe version of this is completely ridiculous. You know, I mean, the coins are cool, but they store in a separate container, one coin at a time. That is garbage. That is a garbage way of storing metal coins. But it was fine. I could even maybe be convinced to play this again, but maybe with not 4 players, because let's face it, the interaction is next to nothing in this game, so why do I bother having 4 players? It was okay, but as I say, I did at least venture out of my comfort zone to try it. So what else would it be? Well, never thought I would enjoy. Never thought. Well, Pulsar 2849 is always a bit of a poster child for that. I love this game. You know, I think it's a 9 or a 10 out of 10 for me at the moment, and it's just, this is a dry as hell game. Dice drafting. Vladimir Suchi, who I don't tend to go for his designs, you know, but I love this game. This game just gives me all the options, and the idea with this is kind of a, it's the idea that it gives me a ton of options, but it streamlines the gameplay. I don't feel like this is bogging me down with a ton of fiddly rules. This one is just straight up simple. You know, roll all the dice, set the median, draft a couple of dice, you know, measure a couple of tracks, and then you just decide what you want to do with each die, which comes from a plethora of options that are all really straightforward. Get a tech, get the ability, you know, get a gyrodyne, stick it on the board, move your ship that many spaces, you know, get a transmitter, plug up that spot with the number, and there's no equal than or less than rubbish. It's just, this free gets you this. If it's not a free, you don't get it, you know, nice and easy. But with all the different technologies and the HQ board, I really love this game, and I think it looks a beauty on the table. I mean, it's basic color scheme, but just having all those little light paths everywhere, it just looks like a cool little neon thing there. Howdy, Kabuki. Hair busy. That's okay. So long as you're listening, that's all good. So, yeah, Pulsar 2849 is probably one. The King is Dead is another one. The King is Dead, I really did not expect I would like. Because it's like, oh, great, this is giving me 8-Minute Empire vibes. And I cannot stand 8-Minute Empire. But I played this and it's like, wow, this is pretty clever. Pretty clever game. Area control over England and Wales and Scotland, and 2 different ways the game can end, and depending on which way it ends determines the winning condition, and it's blimey, it's a very clever little game. So I gotta give it props, but I walked into this thinking I'm gonna hate its guts, but apparently didn't have much of a problem, so I can't really complain. But yeah, there are some times where I do like to go out of my comfort zone every now and again and play a game that I normally wouldn't necessarily play, because occasionally I find a hidden gem like this one. And I've asked my mates to do it every now and again, and I even asked them to teach me Imperial Steam at one point. And they did teach me Imperial Steam, and I will look forward to the day when I get to rise to power and declare as a rule that every copy of Imperial Steam should be burned. Yeah, I really did not like that game at all. But occasionally they teach me something that I go, oh, that's cool. The Grand Trunk Journey's another one. I didn't think I would necessarily like that one, but that turned out to be an entertaining little pick up and deliver game with a little bit of deck building. I thought, this is quite cool. So just because it's not the sort of thing I normally would play doesn't mean I will avoid it altogether. It's just that it just takes a bit more convincing, shall we say, to get me to like it. Alrighty. Emily asks, how's the newest job going? Also, I'm going early to the Games Expo. Any suggestion on good hikes? Sorry, I don't really know about hikes. I mean, I don't know how close you are to the Yorkshire Peaks. From where are you from the Yorkshire Peaks? I would have to really look that up. Let's see. NEC Birmingham to Yorkshire Peaks. I don't know how close that is on a map. I'm not going to bring it on the screen, so that figures, oh god, it's miles away. I would say Yorkshire Dales is miles away, so that's no good. I guess, where are we looking on the map here? Let's have a look. It says Birmingham. You got Coventry nearby. Honestly, I've never really hiked anywhere around here, so I can't really give much suggestions. Although, there is, a park area over here, so that would be something good maybe. What's this? Cannock Chase National Park, or National Thing, Area of Natural Beauty. This could be good. Yeah, National Trust Shugborough Estate, and this is only a little bit further up the road from there. Maybe that's worth going around. But honestly, your guess is as good as mine. I don't really know in terms of hikes, because I don't really go to the Birmingham Expo to hike. But, we'll go with it. Let's see. What do we got? How's this? Occasionally try something different because we nag him until he does. No, occasionally you nag me into doing it, but other times I will do it. And Hadrian's Wall I thought was meh. It was alright. But you did also nag me to do Hall of the Mountain King, and that was pretty good, so there was that. The newest job's going fine, though. I just had my 1-year anniversary the other day, I think Tuesday or something. I've been there for a year now, and I like the people there. I like the work. Pays well. It's a bit of a long commute, which is a bit of a pain, but then half that time I get to combine it with just going out in Southampton anyway, so it's not that big a deal. And I can work early and leave early, which is handy, although I wish I would go to bed early so I could actually justify that, because that's why I'm naturally tired all the time, including now. But yeah, the job's going fine. I hope to stick around for a lot longer. It's nice to actually have a group of people that I get on well with, and feel like, oh yeah, this is a team I like to go to work and work with or something, as opposed to like the previous job where it was a little bit nasty. In terms of questions, I can see some questions coming in the chat. Hold that thought, Malik. Once I'm done with the Patreons, I will gladly chime in with stuff from the YouTube comments. Okay, so yeah, all going well so far on that. Another one from Tim. How much table space do you have? When is a game too big? And which games do have excellent inserts, in your opinion, not third party? Honestly, there's not that many games I can think of with really good inserts. I mean, most games don't even have inserts. They're literally just plastic and cardboard. And honestly, I can't think of one where I liked the insert that much. Because sometimes when it is a lavish insert that works, it just ends up being too much plastic. Like, there's too much wasted space. So it kind of defeats the purpose of having something like that. But what else could there be, I guess? Nah, I honestly can't think of any games that have good inserts, frankly, because most inserts for games are usually just non-existent or naff. This is why I buy folded space inserts. Folded space is my golden choice for inserts, and that usually does the job. I mean, Splendor technically had a good insert, but the game box is too big for what it is, so that does that count? I don't know. But I'm looking around, I really don't see anything that had a good insert. Most of them don't even have inserts. Because that's something that publishers just can't be bothered to deal with. Nope. All of these are just basic. Well, I suppose Empires of the North is not a bad insert. That one will hold pretty much everything you need for Empires of the North, all the way up to, I think, maybe a couple of expansions down the line, and then you might want to rethink it. But no, I mean, Empires of the North is a pretty good example. But yeah, not much else I can think of on top of that. How much table space do I have? Well, I mean, I've got a pretty sizable Gigason table here. I can't exactly show you it in full, but I've got plenty. I mean, I've got this table in here. I've got a dining table downstairs, so it's rare that a game becomes too big for this table. We've played a few Lacerda games on here fine. I've played Frostpunk on the inlet of this fine, and you know how much space Frostpunk takes up. I mean, it takes up the whole inset. It's probably better on top, but still. And it just about handles Lisboa. Lisboa is probably one of the biggest table hogs there is, because the problem with Lisboa is that Lisboa has not only the giant board, but it also has very chunky player boards that you need space above and below for the cards to go in and under. And so that one tends to be quite problematic on most tables, but yeah, I can just about handle Lisboa. So yeah, if that gives you any indication of table space, that's hopefully good. No, I can see your dad jokes, James. Do not try to sneak them past me. It's not going to happen. Full of energy and healthy. I'm in good spirits. Healthy and full of energy, I don't know. In fact, healthy is a little bit hard to tell because I've slightly strained my wrist in recent. I forgot to mention. That's the only health issue I've got. Overdone it at the gym, I think, and it's been a little sore, but I've been to a physio, and conveniently, when I went to the physio, the pain stopped. Great, thanks. And then it resumed the next day. Come on. But they've given me some exercises to do. I've been, to do while I'm at the gym. I've got those hand gripper things, so I'm using those every day. I did some exercise on it yesterday at the gym, and it's made it sore today, but, the more I strengthen this wrist, the better. I mean, it's obviously, I'm right-hand dominant, so yes, the Hexy Beast, just one, but I'm right-hand dominant, so my left-hand side is good for stability, but it's not good for strength. So I think it just can't catch up with the rest of the weights I'm doing at the gym. But yeah, hopefully that'll heal, but it does mean that I have to be a little bit careful with it, not lift up too much heavy stuff with it, and sometimes it does make it a little bit painful to drive. Not too much, but it will heal in time, I guess. I just need to really strengthen that wrist. When is a game too big? When it gets to Lisboa levels, I guess. I mean, yeah, some games can be too big. That new Europa Universalis or whatever, that looks insanely huge. Voidfall, that could be a pretty good example of a game getting too big. Let's wait for Voidfall to come out and ask me that question again. Vincent, right, I think now I'm getting into questions I missed off the previous time I asked for questions. So these are going back a bit time-wise. So, oh well, better late than never. Let's see. What's the highest I shouldn't like that game in your top 100? Well, let's see. I mean, Pulsar 2849 is pretty high, but to answer that one, I'm going to need to go into my top 100 list. Although, I'm not going to bring that up on the screen because that would be massive spoilers. I'm not that stupid. I'm not going to give you those. So let's see, my last top 100. So I've been doing this for, blimey, I've been doing this for a long time. I've got spreadsheet tabs all over the place with this. So, hang on, has this been updated? I feel like this hasn't been updated. This might be problematic. Where's my top 100 then? Ah, there we go. That's it. Yeah, BT top 100 updated. There we go. Yeah, so I must have been loading up an old spreadsheet. Okay, so let's have a look. I mentioned a few. Let's see. No, these are all good. Game I shouldn't like in my top 100. Okay, well, let's carry on down. No, I would expect to like all of these games. Ooh, Vindication maybe could be a good one. That is pretty good going, because Vindication has some aspects that I know I'd like, in terms of, oh yeah, I like the fact that it's got, well, I mean, the theme is a little bit stretched on it, but with this one, you go into it thinking, oh, it's got this lovely cover and it's going to be this thematic storytelling game, and it's a cube pusher. Yeah, for the most part, it's a cube pusher. This model, people, stop showing off your painting. There you go. So there's what the board looks like when you take it out of the box, which again isn't necessarily a looker. And the idea of this is you've got all these different cards that you can collect, and they give you special bonuses and abilities, which I love. But the crux of it is juggling these cubes around these different attributes and using them as the currency to buy the cards while you move around on this very abstracted map. I mean, there's going to be a expansion kickstart. Well, the Kickstarter for the latest expansion is going to add a bit more of a story element, like, little stories that you read as you get each card, and I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, the only thing with this is that, being a big cube pusher, it probably was one that is like, oh god, yeah, when I found out what type of game it was, this is probably going to kill my enjoyment of it. And it's one of my favorite games. I absolutely love this one. It's just, I don't know, I can get into the theme of this even though it's pretty abstracted. So it's definitely just one of those games that I think has just clicked with me. Beer mug. Oh yeah, of course. Did I miss that? Ooh. Oh, I know what this is. Oh yeah, I had some drink earlier. I had some drink when I was playing Edge of Darkness earlier, solo, and I made myself a coffee and a drink then, and I forgot to drink it. I must have absolutely forgot to drink it. So I'm guessing this is. Yep, that's somewhat cooled down coffee, but oh well. Waste not, what not. I like coffee. It doesn't matter if it's not hot. I mean, I drink iced coffee, so what's the difference? But yeah, oh well, at least I'm catered for drinks now. Let's just go with that. Alright, next question. What have we got? 4 more from the Patreons. Emily, can you do a deep dive into what you get for review copy games, or when you request something to review your process? Any details that you share could be great. It's chopped and changed a lot over time. Contacts have come and gone, and I mean, at the end of the day, mainly, I mean, I get some stuff from Kiender at the moment, because Kiender and I obviously have our arrangement. They're local to where I live. Fran, who runs it, is a lovely bloke, and they've been very supportive of the channel. They watch it, they like it, they like the honest views, and so I've had some games from them, hence the Kiender promos. But, and they say the credit I've had with them is very handy as well to get more review copies of games. But the other process is basically just occasionally a publisher will contact me, and it could be out of the blue, or it could be somebody I get on well with. Not a lot lately, because it's the first quarter of the year, which tends to be really dry for games. But then come Essen, I'll have meetings with them, and then if they're giving out to creators, then they will dish them out then. Occasionally I get stuff from Asmodee. I know a couple of contacts there that I speak to every now and again, and I've had the Seven Wonders Edifice expansion, that review, that was an Asmodee sponsored one. And in fact, the newest thing I've got, give me one sec. Oh, gotta watch my wrist. They just sent me this, so I have not I've not sort of figured out the rules to it yet. All I've done is unboxed it. I have no idea if this is going to be good or a complete cash-in, but they've given me a copy to review, so you can bet I'm going to try and get this one played and reviewed nice and quick, because I think it releases in a week or two, so I need to hurry up and get that one sorted. Although, the hope is that once I'm done with this stream, I'm going to watch some backup TV and some anime that I've got to catch up with, and then as I've packed Edge of Darkness away, it means the table is free, which means I can play some other solo game. Ooh, how about, ooh, God, get down here. Such as perhaps this lovely gem. Yes, I haven't played you solo in a while. I played your group game with you last Wednesday, or was it a couple of Wednesdays ago, and that was fun, but I feel like getting you out for a solo play. Wouldn't that be nice? So that could be some entertainment for later. Or, lolly. But, I mean, to review my process, at the end of the day, it's just, if something catches my eye, I'll send them an email and I'll ask nicely. If they accept, great. If not, whatever. But sometimes I'll just get out of the blue. Like a publisher will just say, hey, we're sending out to a bunch of people. You're one of them. Would you like one? I say yes, and they send it. Whether they will actually, yeah. The Star Wars game reminded you of Seven Wonders Duel, but it's not a drafting game. Now I'm intrigued. All right, we'll see. But yeah, the only thing is, I suspect some publishers probably won't contact me again because I think Modiphius contacted me for the Skyrim review, and then I gave that a barely an average rating. So, yep, that probably ain't gonna happen again. An indie publisher sent me that Super Club game. I absolutely hate the game. I ripped it a new one, and then loads, a few people complained heavily that I was reviewing it wrongly, and it's just like, you know what? Screw it, take the video down. I didn't want to put up with trolls. But yeah, that obviously was one of those review copies that didn't go too well. But, there are other people I know from some of the French publishers that are really nice. Ignasti occasionally I chat to. Well, maybe not so much Ignasti, but certainly Joe and a couple of others from the staff. What else is there really? Olderak. Olderak has occasionally sent stuff over. So it's very sporadic. There's no real process in place. It's just a case of if something catches my eye, hopefully I'll be able to request a copy of it. But honestly, most of my games I review aren't review copies. A lot of them are just, I'm buying them with, supported channel credit. Patreon funds can help get review copies if people are asking for copies of games to review. Like, I wasn't that desperate to get Hamlet, but it was requested. So I figured, you know what, while I was at Essen, the patrons wanted me to do Hamlet. So I grabbed Hamlet. I've reviewed it recently, so hopefully that was worth it. But, it's stuff like that. I think the main review copy I've got at the moment, other than the Star Wars deck building game, let's see, I'm reviewing Obsession. That's in the editing room at the moment, so that's coming out next week. But this is the big review copy I've got to deal with. Come on, get out. Hegemony. Paul Grogan's been doing a lot with this lately on his Patreon live streams, but he's been playing it in group games. I've been playing it solo only, so we're coming from different avenues here, but I should be playing this tomorrow. Fingers crossed. I'm taking it to an event. I've said that I want to get it played. Hopefully I can get 4 of us in here, and it's going to be a lengthy game, but I'm hoping I'll get to play it tomorrow. And certainly I'm also playing it with Paul at his house when he does his official live stream play of it. So, yep, I'll be playing that then. And then I should be in a good position to actually review the full game. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. We'll see it. Let's see. Okay, fine. Stepped away from crowdfunding. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't like to do previews that much anymore. I do the occasional preview for Alley Cat games, and that's only because, I get on well with the guy, and they do some games that I quite like, but also they're very supportive. They have no problem with me speaking plainly and honestly about the game, even though it's a preview, whereas a lot of publishers give you a game to preview for Kickstarter, and you're not allowed to say anything but the utmost praise, otherwise you won't get a mention. I mean, I did Oathswarm, and that was a preview copy, and at no point was I mentioned anywhere on a Kickstarter page. Nowhere. I did Tainted Grail, and I got, my listings on the, my video is on the Kickstarter Tainted Grail page for Kings of Ruin, and that's great. But I gave that one a really positive review because I honestly liked it. But the thing with Oathsworn, I gave that an 8 out of 10. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I said it's too much. I thought, it's too bloated, too much stuff in it, too long, and I had problems with it. But I still gave it an 8 because I thought there was a lot of really good stuff about it. And I didn't get a single mention on the Kickstarter page. No link to the video, no nothing. So that was a waste of time doing that video, wasn't it? So, yeah, it is hit and miss when it comes to some of the review copies. But that's just the way it is with small creators. Alrighty, wait. Is there a game for which you use a house rule that greatly improves the overall game experience? Oh boy, is there. At some point I need to do like a top 10 house rules game. If I can remember enough games that I house rule, because I don't house rule many, but if I can remember enough of them, it might be an interesting top 10 list. But you mentioned Wingspan and cards in Ark Nova, so I've never drafted birds in Arc Nova. Sorry, in yeah, I've never drafted an Arc Nova or Wingspan actually, and I mean, I can see it. Honestly, Wingspan, I just let people do a discard and redraw mulligan. So you draw 5 cards, you see what they are, and if you don't like some of them, you can discard as many as you like and redraw back up. And you get to do that once. That's usually enough to get over most of the luck issues in Wingspan, frankly. And honestly, I've never felt the need to desperately do a mulligan in Arc Nova. I mean, you only have to pick 4 cards out of 8. Even in games where I've started off badly, where I think, oh, these 8 cards are not great, I've picked the 4 best ones, worked with it, but then you're quickly done with those 4 cards and you go grab something else. Had the same thing last week Monday. I played Arc Nova and I thought my starting cards were horrible. I thought, oh, a couple of half-decent ones here, but no, the rest of them aren't great. Guy next to me, he's got like Predator sponsorship, he's got a Reptile sponsorship, he's getting tons of money, he's got a bunch of Predators, and I thought, this guy's going to walk away with the game. I think he came third. I think he literally came third out of 4th or something. And eventually I, took a bit of time, but I built up, worked on my plans, got going, and then eventually steamrolled the game. So I don't think I need to worry about it with Arc Nova. But what do I house rule? I know there are some house rules. Well, one thing with Arc Nova is that you know that the row of cards in the middle is face down before you select your cards. According to the official rules, you're also meant to have the green objectives face down as well. Screw that. I mean, what? So I can't even see what the conservation projects are before I select my cards? That is garbage. So that gets house ruled. Here's a good house rule. In fact, this is probably the biggest one. Arc Nova has a rule in it where when somebody gets to 10 conservation points, you have 2 objectives at the start of the game, and at that point, you have to then decide which one of the 2 you're keeping. That is such a good objective rule that I am now house ruling that into as many games as I physically can. Wingspan works brilliantly. You start off with 2 bonus cards, and you've got to pick 1, and that's... I mean, how do you know which bonus card to grab? It's not going to help. So what I do is I say in Wingspan, you get to the end, you keep the 2 bonus cards. You may get more as the game goes on, but at the end of round 2 out of 4, you discard 1 bonus card. And it doesn't have to be the one that you started with at the beginning of the game if you draw more. So you could keep your 2 original ones if you really liked. But that just gives you much more flexibility with the bonus cards, because then for the first 2 rounds you can see which one of the 2 that you're doing better at, and then scrap the one you're not doing well at. And that just works so much well. I mean, I want to put that rule into so many different games. It's unreal. Other house rules. Like I say, I don't really house rule many games. I mean, there may be times in co-op where I try to tweak the difficulty so it's easier, but that's not really house rules. I mean, saying that, Tainted Grail, I mean, the rules that they've put into Kings of Ruin to add quality of life, I was putting them into the original Tainted Grail already because I've house ruled in Tainted Grail things like the Menhirs not taking so short a time to disappear, but nah. Everything else I tend to play it as the rules are. There's not that many house rules I can really think of that aren't just simply mulligans or different deals with objectives. So that's kind of how it rolls. Yeah, I didn't know that rule was in place until many games later. And every time I mention that, nobody else is aware of that rule either. So it's kind of amusing in that respect. Right, what's next? From Mr. Kev, do you purchase, own money, and review games just for the sake of the channel? Well, this is linked to the one I did earlier, so I won't spend too long here, but yes. In fact, I would probably say that a good 75% of my channel content revolves around paid stuff. Now, when you say own money, yes, a lot of it is own money, but obviously the Patreon campaign helps keep the channel going as well. But yeah, I mean, if you imagine that 20% of the channel was review copies, and maybe another 20% is Patreon funded in terms of copies of games, because mainly the Patreon money is to keep the subscriptions for like Adobe Premiere Pro and all the lighting equipment and the cameras and stuff like that. It's basically to keep that going, as well as subscriptions to things like Motion Array for resources and stuff like that. And then probably the 60% is my own cash, just my own money for my day job. So this channel, barely breaks even or makes a loss at the end of the day, but I just enjoy doing it. But yeah, you know, at the end of the day, I want to keep the channel going. If I relied solely on review copies, this channel wouldn't function. There'd be like barely any content, so it just wouldn't work out for me. So I've got to purchase my own games for now, and as I say, I like having a ton of games, so that doesn't bother me too much. It's just the way it is, you know. I'm not a big-time creator, so you gotta ends meet somehow. Alright. Of all the Essen games you've seen or interacted with, which are the top 2 you can see ranking pretty well in your top 100? Right, well, let's just go with Last Essen. Alright, Last Essen. So, I think the best way to go about that is to possibly go back to my top 10 list for the 2022. Because honestly, a lot of that probably did include some Essen releases. So let me have a look at the list. Again, I'm not gonna, you know, start spoiling the list if you haven't watched that top 10 video, but let's have a look. Okay, so at the top, Frostpunk. Yeah, I mean, Frostpunk. If Frostpunk does not end up in my shall we say, yeah, top 100, I'd be quite surprised, because I really enjoy this game. Yes, it is a bit of a tricky one to get to the table, but I do really enjoy it. It's a good, fun, immersive game. It's hard as nails, hence I want to play with the unofficial easy mode ones that are online on BGG. But yeah, the game is very enjoyable. It's a perfect representation of the video game, and if this doesn't end up in my top 100, I'll be surprised. But how high is going to depend on how much the setup and the length of the game is going to affect my ability to play it, because that could have an effect. Wayfarers of the South Tigris. Yeah, that's got to be in my top 100 because I've been really enjoying that one. What else we got? Tribes of the Wind, Heat Pedal to the Metal. Yeah, those two could potentially fit in there. There were a few games in that year that could fit into my top 100. There just weren't that many great games overall. But yeah, those ones. Let's see. Longshot the Dice game, I think, featured in my top 100 for that year by the time I got there. I can't necessarily see... No, I mean, a bunch of these could end up in my top 100. Let's take Essen. Just Essen games. Ottawa. Ottawa. I don't know if Ottawa will meet my top 100, but there is a chance. I'd have to play it some more when I, throughout the time, because I mean, it's going to be a while before I do my top 100, because I deliberately stated that in order to balance my life out with it, I had to delay it until Q1 of the next year in order to actually stand a chance of my sanity remaining intact. But yeah, I mean, this one could have potential, but maybe after a while it's going to get pretty samey. There's only so much variety in the game, so maybe this one doesn't have the potential to stay there, because bear in mind, this is a year down the line, a whole year from now. So Essen's already, what, 4 months old, and this is another year. So a lot could change. I mean, there's going to be another Essen by then that could factor into the top 100. So these games have got to stand the test of time, and Frostpunk hopefully will. Wayfarers probably should. Splendid Duel, Heat Pedal to the Metal. I don't know about Sniper Elite. Sniper Elite might not be able to carry on being in the top 100 forever. Precognition, same sort of thing. Tribes of the Wind, hopefully, but then Tribes of the Wind might tailor down over time. You know, it's really fantastic game at the moment, but without extra content, will it stand the test of time? So that's the thing with these. They've got to have enough variety and enough interest to stand the test of time. And I think something like Wayfarers and Frostpunk have certainly got potential, but I don't know if others will. And I realised I just had my Excel sheet up there. Oh well, if you're watching this, then you got a slight spoiler of that top 10. Whatever. These things happen. So, yeah. There we go. That's the questions from the Patreons. So, I hope that's caught up with a fair few of them. You know, some of them don't tend to ask a ton of questions, and some of them ask a bunch of them. So, after all, I will just at least answer those. So, I don't want to keep the stream going too long, maybe another 15-20 minutes or so. So by all means, everybody, if you want to ask questions in the chat, Just spam them out, get them out, and I'll try and answer as many as I physically can, alright? I'm going to take some drink and beverages while I wait for people to do that. Come on, use your chance. Get them in there. Trying to make them not too open-ended, though, not too long. You know, make them fairly quick-fire questions or something. That'd be handy. Something that I'm not going to spend 20 minutes per question on. But come on, get in there. Camel tea, camel tea. I know some of you had questions, so don't hold out on me, guys. Because I know a couple were asked earlier on. Come on, get on your keyboards. It's not just Hexy Beast and James. Some of you got to be there. Here we go. Right. It's not that Tribes of the Wind is dropping per se. It's just the fact that after a year and a bit, because bear in mind, Tribes of the Wind I think is a really good fun game. And at the moment, I'm really enjoying it, providing I cap the player count at 3. And sometimes that hurts because it means that there's a limited scope for being able to play it. I don't tend to play games as a 2-player. It hasn't got a solo mode. And I don't know if it will ever get any expansions because I don't think it was popular enough to get an expansion. So this means that what I've got is what I've got. Now that game might be enough to keep it on the top 100 over time. Bear in mind, that's 100 games out of thousands of games. So even if it ends up in my top 200, it's still a game I really like. But it has to be said, if it doesn't get any additional content, the replay value could be a problem. But who knows? That's for a year and a bit's time, but we'll see. I mean, it hasn't dropped for me now. I mean, I think I rated it a 10. It's probably more fair to be a 9, but it's still something I would give a seal of excellence to. I still really enjoy it, but we'll have to see if it can stay that way for at least another whole year after I've played it some more. Sorry, got a clear my nose there. All right. Have you watched The Last of Us? Yes, I have. I mean, I have to watch it a day after because I don't... I have to watch it on various VPN methods and stuff like that because I don't have HBO. But I have been watching it, and I'm annoyed that I won't be able to watch the finale because I'll be on the cruise. I got a little holiday cruise coming up for Northern Europe soon, a couple of weeks, and you know, I'm going to be away at the time the finale comes out, and I'll have to wait like 4 or 5 days before I can watch it. So that's going to be annoying. But yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed the series generally so far. The problem I have with it at the moment is nothing to do with the acting and nothing to do with the characters. Well, at least the main characters. I mean, Tommy's really good. Joel's fantastic. Pedro Pascal is just fantastic as an actor. I was a little skeptical about Bella Ramsey as Ellie at first, but she's won me over. I'm actually really liking her. I've got to accept she's not... I haven't played the game, but I've watched a supercut of all the cutscenes from the game, so I know how the story progresses. I just never played the actual physical PlayStation game. But there is a difference between this Ellie and that Ellie, and honestly, I like both. I think Bella's doing a pretty good job, and she is a very good child actress, so, you know, give it that. But the problem I'm having with it at the moment is that this is 9 episodes to do the first game and the DLC. And the DLC is this tomorrow. Tomorrow is the entirety of Ellie's DLC pack. 9 episodes is not a lot of episodes to do a full game. And we've already wasted a decent amount of time on this series on side characters. We had that stupid substitute teacher thing from the Kansas City one from episode 4 and 5. That was a pointless side thing. That really didn't need to happen. It wasn't a good character. It wasn't a good story. It was just like, ugh. But thankfully, Joel and Ellie and Henry and all that bigged it up to make those episodes enjoyable. And I know I'm going to get ragged for this, but I was not the biggest fan of episode 3. Episode 3, everybody crosses it as one of the best things of best examples of TV. Look, the episode was acted great. It's a nice little story, and I think if it was a spin-off episode, it would have been fantastic. The problem is, most of these episodes are barely getting 45 minutes of time, and they are rushing through major plot points. The last episode in particular fast forwards through a ton of plot to get to the end, all because we're wasting time on these other bits. I mean, we get 45 minutes an episode if we're lucky. That side love story got 75 minutes of screen time for something that could have been explained in 20 minutes. You know, we spent so much time on that stuff, and we haven't had enough time to progress the main Last of Us plot. So I'm worried that they're rushing it too much. That's what's hurting it at the moment. And the kinks in the armor for writing are starting to show as a result. I would have preferred if that episode, that love story one, and maybe the Kansas City thing were done as a spin-off after the series was done. So you do 9 episodes of The Last of Us, you follow the game in the DLC, and then what you have is a spin-off series afterwards between season 1 and 2 for The Last of Us, The Lost Survivors, or The Last Survivors, or something. And you do a few episodes standalone that are based on side characters. So you could have that whole episode to do with those two, I forget their names, the two gay guys, I can't remember their names. But you could have that episode as one. Then you could have the Kansas City survivors as one episode. And then you could have another couple of side characters. You could have Tommy's, where's it called? Jacksonville? Is that where it is? The little settlement they've made? You could have a whole episode dedicated to what Tommy does there, how... Well, actually, I'm not going to spoil too much, but yeah, you could have a whole episode devoted to that settlement, and so that would be great. But you're wasting time in my series. You're taking time away from Joel and Ellie, which is easily the best thing in the series, and you're rushing through critical plot elements like the Jacksonville settlement, the Henry story, the University in Colorado, I believe, had a much bigger segment in the game. You rushed Tess. Tess is one of the most major characters in the game from how it affects the story, and you rush it. All so that you could do a love story. That just got on my wick. But as I say, I'm spending too long on this question, but yeah, I like the series. It's probably an 8 out of 10 for me. I really do like it. But, do it properly. Don't falter at the last minute, alright? Favorite implementation of a board game mechanism. I mean, there's so many of them. I mean, the Hanabi mechanism from Tribes of the Wind is really cool. I've always spoken that Anachrony, which I think is downstairs, that time travel element where you take something from yourself in the future as a loan to do something now, but you got to pay it back or you screw up the timeline. It's the most thematic way to do a loan system ever, and it works. So that's probably my favorite. I struggle to find anything that takes a loan system and makes it that thematic. In terms of favourite mechanism, I mean, I really like the action row. So Civilization: A New Dawn and Ark Nova, they both use the action row typewriter mechanic, as I call it, where you do something and then it gets weaker and everything else gets slightly stronger. More games need that, personally. Do I read for pleasure? No. I honestly don't read. There's 2 things I read in this world. It's, to be fair, I don't read that many work-related textbooks and stuff either, but to be honest, outside of work, the only 2 things I really read, recipes for cooking and rule books for games. That's pretty much it. I used to read a few novels related to stuff I like Doctor Who and that, and I did go on audio, what was it called? Audiophile or what's the audio book one? Audiophile? Audible, that's it. Yeah, I went on Audible for a while, and I did listen to things like Ender's Game and The Hunger Games, The Lord of the Rings, and a few other stories. So they were quite cool, but that was over a decade ago at least. I just don't have time to read. Let's see. Already answered your question, Malcolm Wayfarers. Okay. Which game can replace Ark Nova for you? None. Well, what is going to replace Ark Nova for me? I mean, Earth is a card tableau management game. That's not going to replace Ark Nova, I don't think. It's going to be too light for that sort of thing. Now, it would certainly kick the butt into something like Ares Expedition, for example, but I was only ho-hum on that game anyway. But Ark Nova, not really. I mean, Zoo Tycoon, the Kickstarter game, is a fairly standard affair, so I don't see that one really doing good. Let me bring that one up a sec. Zoo Tycoon. I didn't kickstart it because I thought it was too expensive for what it was, but, this is meant to be one of those games where you build up a zoo and have animals and stuff, but even this looks like a very different game to Ark Nova, so I don't see this one replacing it either, but I would like to try it when it comes out. But man, that was an expensive Kickstarter, so no. But yeah, what is possibly going to replace Ark Nova for me? It's one of my favourite games of all time. It's going to take a lot to replace Ark Nova, I'm afraid. What are you planning to attend convention-wise this year? Well, let's see. I don't go to AirCon anymore because of various reasons, but one of the main reasons being that I don't like to travel 5.5 hours up the most boring motorway in the world just for a 2.5-day event. It's especially during March, which is my common season for not only occasional holidays, but also work. March is the second busiest month for my work, so it's difficult to take a weekend off. But yeah, various reasons I don't go to AirCon anymore. So, I'm in an hour about Baycon in April. I could attend Baycon, but I liked it okay last time, but I didn't think it was amazing. I thought the hotel was really expensive for what you got. The food was pretty expensive and only adequate. The games were cool, and there was some nice people, and that was fine. But let's face it, I get that at every convention I go to. It's the fact that it's not close to anything. So if you want to venture away from the convention, there's not a lot nearby. And as a result, there's also not many hotels nearby, which means you're kind of stuck for places to stay, and it costs an absolute fortune. But I am going to UK Games Expo. That's a given, so I will be going there this time. No weddings for the family are going to take me away from the expo this year round. I will be going to Manicon, because I went last year after a hiatus and found that Manicon's actually pretty cool, and it's 3 and a bit hours away. So you know what, I'm cool with Manicon. I go to a convention called Shape, Battle and Roll twice a year, which is a local Southampton one, so I'll be going to that one in March and October. I'm going back to Essen, of course, this year, as always, in October. If Hilmar, the guy who runs Midgard, is still wanting to have me there, I would love to go to Midgard in September if they can hold the Icelandic convention, because I really want to visit Iceland. Hilmar's a cool bloke, and, you know, for the last 2-3 years he's wanted me to come along with Paul Grogan. Hopefully we will. That would be fantastic. But I just wish I could go to an American convention one of these days, but it just costs too much. The flight alone is an absolute fortune, and then you got accommodation, and you got the convention itself, then you got jet lag to worry about because I've flown across the entire world. It's really hard to get to an American convention, and that's just going to cause problems. Any other conventions? Let's see. Manicon was one. If HandyCon ever returns, maybe I'll go to that one again. I suppose that's really the only ones I can think of. But yeah, UK Games Expo and Essen are certainly the two big ones. No, I am not going to have a look at the Stefan Fell City Collection. I already showed earlier on that I have played Marrakesh, and I found that okay. I have problems with it, but it's not terrible, even though it is Trajan 1.5. But you know, there's still issues with it, but I've got no interest in the Stefan Fell collection. I mean, firstly, it's Queen Games, and rarely do they make a lot of stuff that I'm that into. Secondly, their Kickstarters are so stupidly expensive and poorly run that the last thing I'm going to do is give them money on that front. It's Stefan Fell, which means the likelihood is that I'm not desperately going to like the games anyway. I mean, I know I like to venture out of my comfort zone every now and again, but playing 6 to 8 of his games that are all just based around a dry city theme with no theme whatsoever, that's asking a lot, okay? That's asking quite a bit, but I will play the City Collection games if they're on the table and people want to, and my first time trying it. But no, I'm not going to do official stuff into the City Collection. I mean, Paul Grogan's probably going to be a better look for that. Do you ever run into paralysis as which game to grab off the shelf to play when looking at all of them? Oh, hands down every single time. This always happens. Every time I'm preparing for a game night, I'm thinking, ooh, what am I going to take? I can't remember the rules to that one as well. Should I do it though? But, oh, wait a minute, they're going to be there. They've got analysis paralysis. I don't know if I want to take a Werner. But I need to have some fillers as well. Right, well, I've played that one in a while. I guess High Society, that'd be good. Or Ferriferous, that would be good. Oh, but I'd quite like to take Fort. Maybe I should take one of the Ticket to Ride ones there. But yeah, they got Ticket to Ride there. And honestly, it takes me forever to pick games for a game night. This, you know, unless it's pre-arranged, yeah, choosing stuff off the shelf is a bit of a nightmare. Even just playing solo games is like that. I might get some spare time and I'm like, ooh, what solo game do I feel like playing today? The Sentinels, but I do feel like Ark Nova, but that is a bit of a setup, and but then there's Frostpunk, that's going to take me forever. Edge of Darkness, I had to willpower myself for that one, because I played it with some mates of mine a few weeks back, and we left it on the table, mostly set up, so that I could just switch the scenarios and play it solo. So I've played that twice in the last week and a half. Now it's packed away, God knows when I'll get out again, but yeah, you know, it's just so many games, so little time. That is cold now. Yeah, that's the cold coffee. Oh boy. Luke's cruise, is that like the Dice Tower board game cruise? Yeah, I wish. Nah, this is just a cruise I'm doing with a few mates. We're doing with Northern Europe, and, it's just a pleasure cruise, although I will take some games along with me. Maybe stuff like this, stuff that fits in the travel bag nice and easily. But these mates, well, one of them can handle midish weight games, possibly with a bit more context. The other two, they struggle with anything above light games, and they have chronic AP. So even playing games like Seven Wonders with them can be painful at times. And the fact that they actually know the game well suggests that AP should not be a problem. But yeah, so I've got to be really careful about the games I take on the cruise. But to be honest, I want to relax a bit on the cruise, I mean, I've got games on my mobile phone if I'm desperate. I could literally just whip up my mobile phone and play a bunch of games, like maybe get some practice on Race for the Galaxy so I could actually win a damn game of it. But yeah, I've got plenty enough stuff to do for that. I mean, mainly I want to go to the gym there. I want to, sit in the thermal suite, go in the pool. And obviously I've got excursions planned, a cycle tour around Hamburg, a cycle tour around the cliff's edge of Le Havre. Bruges, there's a beer brewery I think I'm going to in Bruges, so that should be quite cool. The main one I'm going to struggle with is Rotterdam, because Rotterdam I've already been to. I drove through it en route to Essen one year and I had a little exploration of it, so I've kind of seen all the interesting stuff in it as far as I'm aware, although I might return to that food market. That food market in Rotterdam was nice. There was a lot of nice tasty food in there. But yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do for the Rotterdam day. At the moment, I've been asking around if anybody knows any board game cafes there. I've heard of one in The Hague. I wonder if I can find it. The Hague Board Game Cafe Rotterdam. Let's see if it will find it. You can help me find it with me. Yeah, the Boardroom Board Game Cafe. I think that's the main one. Or is there another one? Or is it just called Den Hague? Tabletop Kingdom, I think, is another one. Let's see, Tabletop Kingdom I think is one that people have mentioned for Rotterdam, which, I mean, that looks more miniature heavy, but then there's a bunch of board games, so maybe that would be good, I don't know. But I think that's what I'm going to do in Rotterdam when I'm there. So I don't know exactly what day I'm there for. I think it's the middle, let's see, I think I leave on the 10th of March and I go for a week. And I think Rotterdam is the second destination on the trip. I think we go to Hamburg first after a day at sea, so probably around the 13th of March time I think I'll be in Rotterdam. I'll try to find out exactly, but yeah, if there's a decent board game cafe in Rotterdam, then I'd be happy to just go there and play some games with people if anybody's in the area, because frankly I don't know what else I'm going to do for Rotterdam. I think that would just be the thing. What do we got? Yes, quite a few people agreeing on the Queen Games Kickstarter front. What anime shows are you trying to watch? Let's see. I mean, I watched the entirety of Fairy Tail recently, and that's all 300 episodes. But yeah, I really liked Fairy Tail when I watched that one. This one was just such a fun anime, and it's got a bunch of fan service stuff in it, but it's got some fun humor, it's got some good action, some really nice characters. The English dub was great, and mainly I love the soundtrack. The soundtrack to this is brilliant. It's a cross between Celtic and rock, and it just makes some of the best action fight sequence songs I've heard in animes, and this is saying something compared to something like Dragon Ball Z in that, which I've watched before as well. But trying to watch at the moment, well, I still watch My Hero Academia, so although it's not as good as it used to be, My Hero Academia, even though it started off alright with season 6, it's dragging on a bit, but I do like the English dub of My Hero Academia, and I thought that was a really good solid series so far. I've really been enjoying Demon Slayer. Season 3, Swordsmith Village comes out for that very soon. I cannot wait. Honestly, you want a personal recommendation from me. If Fairy Tail is too long for you at like 300 plus episodes, you want a series that you can digest, watch Demon Slayer. This is one of the most beautifully animated animes I've ever seen. It has a fantastic English voice dub. It has a brilliant soundtrack. It has epic fight sequences. This is just a brilliant show, end of. I cannot wait for season 3. But what's another one? Jujutsu Kaisen, I think, is one I watched recently. That I quite liked. I mean, I'm keen for season 2. I like season 1, but we'll see how that one goes, but that's so cool. I watched Naruto Shippuden and Naruto. I really like that one, so at the moment I am keeping up with Boruto, but yeah, Boruto is nowhere near as good as Naruto and Naruto Shippuden is, so I'm kind of just in it playing the motions on that one. I watched Chainsaw Man recently, which I was not a fan of that one. Chainsaw Man I found to be very, I don't know, I just found it a bit boring. It's got some funny, like, scenes and characters in it, and it certainly has a lot of gore, but I do like the image of this guy who has chainsaws sticking out of his face and arms. I mean, that is pretty insane. But the theme song is god-awful. Some of the characters are just annoying. And I don't know, this one just didn't really sing it for me. I mean, there was some enjoyable bits in it, but for the most part, I was kind of ho-hum on this one. But which ones am I watching at the moment? Okay, so My Hero Academia is one. In fact, I need to catch up with today's episode when I'm done with this live stream. But here's another one for you. I'm watching occasional digestible seasons, and I didn't realise that this one was ongoing. So I thought I was going to watch the entire season, and apparently this is one that I'm having to wait each weekly for episodes. But this is called Blue Lock, and it's a football anime. I never thought, for me who hates football, that I would be interested in football. But this anime is actually pretty addictive. I mean, it's well animated, and it involves basically a training facility where they're trying to find the best striker to represent Japan. And all the matches are played out kind of like in slow time, where you see the thoughts going through people's heads, and each one's got their own special skill. Like, one can run like hell, another one's got stupidly accurate, like, long-range kicks, and the main character does things like his spatial awareness is off the scale, so he's able to sort of visualize where players are, where they need to go, their power and stuff. And you see it kind of happening almost a bit like watching the Sherlock series, where even though it's only a second of time, you see all the thoughts play out. It just makes for a very entertaining show, and it's about football. I'm enjoying it. But yeah, I mean, it's just a really solid show so far, so I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying Blue Lock, so I'm keeping up with that one. People have mentioned One Punch Man. Somebody has recommended that one to me. I don't know if I would like it or not, but I do like superheroes, so maybe I would like that one. Edge Runners is a good one, though. I watched that recently. That's a very good Netflix series. I'm not the biggest cyberpunk fan, but I thought that was really, really cool. So yeah, it's a lot of animes. I like anime. I do like anime. It's something I do enjoy. Okay. Right, what do we got? Episode 3 of Last of Us was great. I think the Bill and Frank portion was less than an hour. Well, it felt like only 10 minutes was devoted to the reading of the letter at the end, but you could have done that letter as well as everything to do with them in 20 minutes. You did not need 75. You stop at the tea party. Stop at the tea party. I do not need to watch them pick strawberries or do wheelchair stuff or the most unbelievable battle sequence. I mean, I'm sorry. They've survived there for 20 years, and you're telling me no raider or infected got in 20 years? Bull. There is no way. The suspension of disbelief for that is insane, especially as the guy literally will stand out in the open when people are shooting at him with rifles. Yeah, it's like, no. Let's see. Never played the game, seen the series. Sorry, I can't go to where. Well, two reasons I can't go to Aircon. Firstly, I already mentioned the reasons I'm not going, and secondly, that actually clashes with the cruise. I'll be on my cruise when Aircon's on, so can't do it. What would you rather do? Be kicked in the groin repeatedly for an hour straight, or play Concordia? Seriously? Okay, I'll play Concordia. I mean, I hate the game with a passion, but, I can deal with 90 minutes, 2 hours of, mental anguish compared to physical, torture for an hour. Let's see. When you think board game design quality will plateau? It already did. Game design has not been as peak as it could be since 2012. 2013. That was when the bubble of board gaming really blew up, when games started getting released en masse. And there was a great amount of games in 2012 alone, let alone 2012 and 2013. Since then, we've had some okay years and some decent games, but no year since 2012-13 has ever reached the peak of that year. And certainly recently, I mean, what have we had? 20, 21, and 22 have been pretty meh and mediocre, frankly, as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, board game design kind of already has plateaued. There's a lot of rinse repeat. There's a lot of, same old themes. I mean, oh, look, another 19th century industrial age game about burning coal and running a furnace or something. It's like, oh, great, joy. There's not a lot of variation these days. Let's see. Mostly about Queen Games. Any more questions on there? I think we've reached the end of those. So maybe we're in a good state to maybe wrap this up. I'll give it another few minutes and see if any more questions come through. But yeah, ask anything. It doesn't even have to be board game related. I mean, I just spent 10 minutes there rambling on about anime, which was all pretty solid. What's this one? Inazuma 11 is another good football anime. I never liked footy either. What is that? Inazuma 11. Inazuma 11. I mean, the thing is, Blue Lock looked like it was semi-serious from its visuals. Yes, okay, it's a bit over the top with regards to the skill level of the players and stuff, but at least the characters look semi-realistic. I'm not sure I would be into this whole chibi... I mean, it's coming from a Nintendo DS game as well, so this one just looks a little bit too kiddie for me. I don't know if I would really go for something like that. Do you think we will see any brand new mechanics, or will it all be rehashing? Interesting. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what extra mechanics you could really design. I think we've kind of reached the plateau of what we can do with mechanics, but I think the combination of mechanics is where it's going to be a thing. I mean, the crew, brilliant game, but the crew is a mishmash of trick-taking and co-op. Worked great. We've seen those mechanics before, put them together and it worked. Tribes of the Wind was a combination of the Hanabi card-facing mechanic and the card and like action selection in it. I thought that's really cool. That's a different thing. What else have we seen? Well, the action row mechanic. I've seen that in 2 games? Arc Nova and Civ: A New Dawn. I want to see more games use the action row, please, because I think that would be brilliant. But what are the combinations we had? I know we've had some pretty good combinations lately. Oh, the card crafting system. Yeah, the idea that it's semi-deck building, but then you sleeve advancements into the card and create your own cards. I mean, that system's been great, and that was pretty unique when it came out, but I don't know what else you can really do with it, although John DeClaire is going to do his best. What else? I don't want to see too many more asymmetric games, that's for certain. I mean, Hegemony is a pretty good game so far, I will say. I'm positive on it so far, but it takes a lot of investment rules. I mean, I am constantly rereading the rules to that while at work if I'm bored to try and get the rules ingrained into my head. But it's difficult to learn 4 players worth of rules, and I hope that doesn't become a trend. But brand new mechanics, hard to say. I mean, have you looked at the Kickstarters lately? They're all rehashing mostly the same thing. I mean, everybody's gone mad over Andromeda's Edge, the new one from Luke Laurie. I like Luke Laurie. I like some of his games. I really like Whistle Mountain. Cryo's fine. I like Dwellings of Eldervale at first. I'm a bit more meh on it now. But Andromeda's Edge just basically looked like same old with a sci-fi theme on it and just overproduced. And nothing about that game was really pulling me in. And yet everybody's going mad for it because it's like, ooh, Dwellings was amazing. Let's go buy this one. It's like, think a little bit harder, chaps. Is it really going to be that amazing? We'll see. What's your favourite beverage when board gaming? It is either to be honest, alcohol in general or coffee. Big heavy game. It's nice to have a nice cup of coffee, cappuccino, something like that. But if I can cut loose a bit, or if it's out of convention, you'll see me with a cider or a beer, ale, something like that, a pint. Don't often drink wine while I play board games, although with viticulture I sometimes make an exception. But yeah, not usually a wine drinker when I play board games. But yeah, you'll see me with a pint. Pint of cider, pint of beer, or coffee. As usually, a fancy coffee, not just a normal one. What else we got? What's this? I mentioned the wrong thing after you called it up. I mean Captain Tsubasa. Oh, alright, okay. How different was this then? Captain Tsubasa. Alright, yeah, that was a little bit different, mate. Captain compared to the last one, yeah, that's a bit different. I like that picture. That's a pretty cool picture. Rise of New Champions. Eagle. Okay, this looks pretty good from an animation perspective. I mean, I'd put that picture on the wall. It does look pretty sweet. But that's a poster. What's the actual anime like? I mean, that's very cartoony. It looks very fakey 3D style anime. I don't know. But the thing is, I'm not like saying I want to go watch a bunch of football animes all of a sudden. I mean, Blue Lock, I think the only reason I got into Blue Lock was because I was browsing YouTube randomly when I was looking up, fun scenes from animes I watch, because I sometimes like to watch them again. And, oh yeah, that's from the game. All right, fine. But when I was browsing stuff, Blue Lock just came up occasionally on searches, and I thought, okay, let's watch this cool moment. And I watched it, and it's like, that's well animated. Oh, that is pretty cool. Okay, that's over the top, but you know what? That looked cool. And so I gave it a little bit of a watch, thinking that I could just binge the whole series, not realizing that when I got to episode 15, I hit a cap. And it's like, where's the rest of the series? I've only watched 15 episodes. And then it said releasing next week. It's like, oh, this only came out like autumn last year. So I've like caught up with it already. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to be watching a million football animes. It's just Blue Lock, I think, was just... It was weird enough to take me out of the fact that it's about football, so it kind of worked. I can't think of anything else. I think we'll wrap it up here because it's been an hour 20. I've got to watch, what have I got to watch tonight? I've got to watch My Hero Academia. I've got to watch the next Blue Lock. And I also need to watch The Flash from Wednesday. I haven't watched the latest episode of The Flash yet. And that's it. Yeah, because I won't get to watch Last of Us until at least Monday night, probably. And I think I've caught up with all the other TV. Yeah, although Mandalorian Season 3 starts next week, doesn't it? Or something soon. Yeah, can't wait to watch some Mandalorian. I think that's going to be really awesome. So yeah, not to mention I also wouldn't say no to playing some more Deep Rock Galactic. Or maybe get Sentinels out, because it is over there. Although, I do need to make certain I've learned this at some point, and got Hegemony ready for tomorrow. So we shall see. But, yeah, sorry, Patrons. It took me a long time to answer some of your questions, but hopefully this is now caught up, and obviously I'll try to do more regular Q&As every now and again, because they're good fun to do. My voice is just about lasting, but no, it's fun to just kick back and relax with, well, cold coffee, a hot chamomile tea, and 2 litres worth of blackcurrant squash, it seems, on this one. But yeah, certainly on that front, it was quite interesting there. Not a ton of people tonight, which is a bit of a shame, but it is Saturday, so maybe the next time I do a Q&A, I'll save it for a Thursday night or something like that, a night when more people are available or something like that, maybe a Wednesday night, we'll see. But yeah, it's been good to hang around with you all, so, oh, right, so thanks, Brad. This was my first time participating in any live chat from any channel. Well, fantastic. I'm happy that I was the first one to do it, and hopefully it was worth your while. I certainly do like to engage with the chat anytime I do live streams, and certainly the next time I do a top 10 live with whoever, I don't know. I think there was a game, I think there is a podcaster who did suggest we do a top 10 games with too much bloat, in the sense that we like the games, but we understand that they've got way too many expansions or something, or perhaps we just go with games that are ruined because they've got too much bloat. I don't know, but that's a potential top 10 list for a collaboration in the future. We'll have to see, but either way, like I say, it's always good to do some of these live streams, and I just need to find more excuses to do live stream stuff. I mean, people have suggested things like do top 10 like cards or characters from stuff and things like that. I did one a while back where I did a tier ranking list of Spirit Island spirits. That was quite cool. A lot of effort though, and I'm not an expert at any of these games, so when I say these are my favourite spirits in Spirit Island, I'm not saying that these are the best ones in power level, I'm just saying that these ones I enjoy. I could possibly do a Sentinels of the Multiverse one in the future. Is there any game I play? I mean, Cosmic Encounter's got way too much in it. There's no way I could do one for that. And what other game do I play where there's lots of different characters or powers I would like? I mean, I'm not going to do things like top 10 cards from Arc Nova or something, because that would just be... How's that interesting? I don't get how that would be interesting, but I don't know. We'll have to see on that. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to get on and watch some stuff. So by all means, take care, everybody. And, thanks for joining me. And I'll see you soon. I think let's see, keep on the lookout for Monday when I'll release, I think I'm going to release the top 10 Next Step 2-player games on Monday. Hopefully by Wednesday, Thursday, I'll have edited the Obsession review, so that will come out. And then at some point, if I can do it tomorrow morning, I hope to do it, but I need to hurry up and record the top 10 advanced 2-player games listing, get that semi-ready. But yeah, and obviously, I need to do a quick draw review for this, because I don't think this warrants a full review. I think I could quick draw this one easily enough. But yeah, I got to get that one done. And also, Hegemony is going to need a full review when that's ready. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff on the horizon. And, you know, by all means, I hope you stick around and watch. If you like what you see, subscribe, like it, share it. Join the Patreon if you can, even if it's just $1 a month. It all goes to the channel, as I've already explained. So, like I say, it's money well spent, and this channel wouldn't be here without you. But otherwise, take care. Love you all, and I'll see you soon, everyone. Bye-bye now.